Let's talk about active recovery and deloads. Not a popular subject, but the serious lifters will pay attention. So to get straight to the point, all of us who train hard need to recuperate. Depending on our age, genetics, lifting experience, and how intense our program is, recovery will differ from person to person. And typically speaking, it's 48, 72 hours of recovery between sessions. Whether you're following an upper, lower, full body, push-pull legs, that's pretty standard. Now, what most people do in this particular case is wait it out. They do absolutely nothing except for eat big and sleep long, which is probably the most important thing you could do. If you don't have that down right, you're probably not going to make the best gains even if your program is on point. Although in some cases there are exceptions. So, that is obviously a tremendous thing to do, but what if I told you that in some cases, or many cases rather, recovery can be improved with a little bit of exercise? Not a lot now, but just a little bit. And I need to stress that. I'm talking extremely light movements. Fluff and pump, if you will. Nothing strenuous whatsoever. Low percentage relative to your 1 rep max. Like band face pulls, band pull aparts, band dislocations. These are not demanding exercises. If you're rowing in the 300s, a little mini band, which is nothing in terms of resistance, will not harm your recovery. Rather, it promotes it. You're getting blood flow in. And in many cases, you're attacking certain areas that may have been neglected within the workouts themselves. Like I can tell you that hitting the band pull aparts and band dislocations on a daily basis is a great thing to do. And I really understood the importance of this when I was watching some Athlete Next videos. So I'm going to link that segment right here. Please check it out. So it's not just the band pull apart that is beneficial. There are many other things you could do. It could even be compound movements like push-ups and pull-ups. I made another video on frequency. You can check that out. But essentially, it's adding a little bit of extra exercise, usually specific to what you may have trained the day before, but it can be full body if you choose to. So if you did a lot of benching on Monday, maybe Tuesday, you can hit a little bit of push-ups to get some blood flow and maybe some band push-downs as well. Basic stuff like that with a little bit of band pull-aparts. That's all it really entails. And typically speaking, you include a little bit of mobility work as well, okay? Just to enhance the process a little bit more. It might be Donnie Thompson's shoulder protocols, another technique which I highly encourage you guys do, okay? But the point is to stimulate the area very lightly, but not destroy it in any type of way. This is not a workout. It's not a Bulgarian system. It's not even a frequency system. It's just doing a little bit more. And that could make the difference for a lot of people. And if you're a natural trying to maximize recovery, well, I say give this a shot. The worst that can happen is that it doesn't do anything for you. That's about it. But I'm going to tell you right now that you'll likely benefit from this approach just by doing a little bit. And everybody can start with some push-ups and pull-ups. But probably number one thing is the band pull-aparts and band dislocations. But there's a lot more to it. If you have sore legs, well, doing bodyweight squats can actually reduce some of that soreness. Make you more prepped for the next workout, okay? And in many cases, by doing this extra work, it acts as a form of nucleus overload, which is always a great thing.
Nucleus overload goes way back, man.
And let me say that if this is negatively impacting recovery, please drop the activities immediately. But it really shouldn't. It should have the opposite effect, okay? Other ways that people like to do this, by the way, is in the form of deep tissue massage. But I realize this is not an option for most. So I'm suggesting that you do some little band exercises, little fluff and pump corrective stuff. And I guarantee you that you will feel better the next day, especially if you're tight. You know, you got tight hips, tight pecs, you know, doing some stretching exercise, mobility with a little bit of connective tissue work. It's always a great thing. And what I do to ensure this consistently is my mini home workouts. So Mondays and Thursdays, I'll do my full body. Tuesday and Friday, mini home. And then if I feel like it, on any given day, I might do some push-ups or some pull-ups, or I might just do some band pull-aparts for the hell of it. It doesn't really matter when you do it. This is just extra little stuff. So I would encourage you guys to experiment with active recovery instead of just doing nothing. And with that said, this will bring me on to the subject of deloads. Haven't talked about this in a very long time, with the exception of Q&As, so I'm going to do it again, and it does tie into active recovery. First of all, there are two ways of initiating the deload. And by the way, you do this when you've overreached, okay? The first method is to do absolutely nothing, which is not typically advised in a strength training program. But the second option is to do a little bit of exercise. Again, kind of mimicking that active recovery that I talked about earlier, where you may be using the same exercises, but significantly lower volume and obviously a smaller percentage relative to your 1 rep max. So it's nothing too strenuous, and in many cases, when you perform the deload this way, you'll come back even stronger. And there are mechanisms for that Greg Nuckols talks about in some of his articles. Maybe that has to do with mTOR resetting. We don't fully understand this, but I would encourage you to look into Greg's work. But for some people, a deload could be beneficial. But what I will say is that if you're someone who's constantly overreaching, that shouldn't be happening in the first place. In my view, deloads should come as a natural part of lifting. It should really be once in a blue moon. The last time I took one was for my bench press competition. When I did the 347, I deloaded a week out because that's what you're supposed to do for the peaking, right? And I don't even know if that was the best thing anyway, because I got my 347, but then a week later I was even stronger. So it's possible that I didn't even do the peaking right, but that's a different subject altogether. Deloads should not be every 4 weeks, in my opinion. And if you're running something like concurrent, it's going to be a rare thing, which is crazy because everybody says that you're not supposed to max out all the time. If you max out on a weekly basis, you're going to burn out. You're going to overreach. Really? Then how is it that with concurrent periodization, you can max out year-round while requiring few deloads? Even though, think about this, you got a volume day, intensity day, usually upper, lower, full body. So you're going balls to the wall every single week. High workload, constantly rising. Yet you're only taking a deload once in a blue moon? Doesn't that speak volumes on training programs in general? Like, these guys who take deloads all the time, you don't have to, man. The way that I see it is it should just come naturally. Maybe you got a vacation coming up. Maybe you got a competition coming up. You just got to take one. Maybe once in a blue moon you feel like doing a long fast, and therefore you're not going to train. Or maybe you do overreach once a blue moon. Some would say that is beneficial to your training. I can agree with that to a certain extent. But this idea of constantly taking deloads, no, you don't have to do that, okay? And the only people who are really going to need more deloads, in my view, are older individuals or people who have really made a lot of natural gains and it's just more stressful on the recovery. Like, I can tell you that once you become a mid 300 bencher, the whole game changes. Because now every workout, if you're doing a raw bench, you always got to hit 300. Okay, if you're doing something like a current routine. Like, you literally, it's heavy all the time for the most part. Even volume work is relatively heavy, okay? So this does have an impact on your recovery. And again, this is where active recovery comes into play. Like, you will feel better if you do a little bit of push-ups here and there with some band pull-aparts and all that. But that's where I would see deloads coming in a little bit more frequently. If you're really hitting elite level strength, and if you're an older individual, so your body doesn't recuperate quite as well. But this concept of taking them very often, like, how many deloads do you need? Most people won't even need 5 deloads in a year. It should be less if you ask me. You don't have to go crazy with that. But back in the day, okay, when I was still learning about all this and experimenting, I would have told you that they were 100% worthless. And I think that with the emerging exercise science, I'd have to disagree with those older segments. They're not worthless, okay? They have a place. But it's just that I feel many are abusing the deload. And they take it when they're not even overreaching. Real talk. It's just something that they throw in for the hell of it. Like, oh, every month or every 3 months, I'm just going to do it. The way I see it, it's like, listen to your body. If you're recovering, why are you going to take a deload? If you're feeling the best you've ever felt before, if you're feeling amazing and recovery is through the roof, and you're having no issues whatsoever, you're not even overreached, why are you going to take a deload? Just because your program says to? Screw that, man. Like I said, a lot of these problems comes from usually like these linear systems or blocks where you're going through these various phases and stuff because you're not maintaining your abilities and you're going through this peaking phase, okay? But provided that you do things a little bit differently, and I'm telling you to do concurrent, you're not going to have to take as many deloads. And I barely took any in 2018. So that's my opinion on both subjects. Active recovery is a great thing, and deloads could be good for certain circumstances. And I really do believe that if you constantly need deloads, like, you should maybe change up your programming a little bit. So that's my opinion, experience-based and exercise science, of course. Give me your feedback down below. Let me know if you agree. Do you think that you shouldn't do anything whatsoever on your off days? Just wait it out. Wait till that bell rings. What about the deloads? How often you take them? Do you think that it should really be a planned thing where every 3 months, like, you're totally doing it, even if you feel on top of the world? Let's hear it, guys. And with that said, I'll talk to you all next time.
You guys can also jump on a rebounder. It's great active recovery, and there's no stress on the joints whatsoever. I do these every single day, man. It really helps get the body conditioned, and it's fun.